I'm Amber Davies and welcome to Call to Stage. This is the space where musical theatre takes centre stage. From unforgettable backstage stories with incredible special guests to insights from my life and my theatre journey. We're leaving it all on the mic every single week, so let's jump in. Hi guys, welcome back to Call to Stage with me, Amber Davies, Broadway Edition. Now, I feel so fortunate that I have my friend, a good friend, sitting next... Are you crying?
I am. I didn't know I'd get good.
A good friend sitting next to me. He's a Tony Award-winning actor and a new granddad, which I've just been told. Yeah. It's the wonderful Roger Bart. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Now,
hello. I'm ready. I'm just pre-evening show. It's good to see you, Amber.
Please tell me, Rog, as Doc Brown.
As Doc Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No.
That means I have to be in character already?
Yeah. Just for this next question.
Okay, because my PR people said I could be myself here. I'm a little... All right. What is it?
What's your pre-show ritual as Doc?
Well, I definitely do, in my advanced years, I do a bit of stretching.
Do you?
I do.
What muscle in particular?
A lot of leg and back. Leg and back are really the tricky ones. Yeah.
I feel you.
And then I slip into my white hazmat onesie, which is always a treat since I've never looked good in a pair of onesies or overalls.
No.
It's not my friend, that particular look. It's the plight of the short-legged. And then I try to stretch my neck, and then I do some singing. But it's also kind of like, you know, as somebody else, a mutual friend of ours, Ben knows, it's a lot of socializing that goes on. You know, we walk into a very happy building. So a lot of it is about saying hello, seeing how one has spent the last 3 hours, catching up. Yeah. Because that's what it's like. Like one of my favorite inside jokes is just having a day off and going, hey, oh my God, how are you? What did you do? Did you relax?
Like you haven't seen someone in a
Right.
week.
Which is sort of just like only in theater do you have these kind of ridiculous conversations with somebody when you really have been separated for 8 hours and you're like, oh, how was it? What did you do? The family? Oh, it's good. And you got some sleep and a good meal? You know, it's that kind of talks. So we do that. And that amazingly warms up my instrument. And then I'm ready to go.
I remember vividly, there was one line you used to do in London. I was a floor above Rog at the Adelphi.
Oh, yeah.
And every day I'd hear, because Rog and I would go downstairs at the same time. I'd be like a flight ahead of him and he'd go, you're the best, Jennifer.
It's true.
That was Marty's line.
It was true, because that was right around the time I headed the stage. Well, what I would do is, you know, after about 2 or 3 understudies would go on for that role, I would simply remove the comma. The line is basically, oh, you're the best, Jennifer. And I thought it'd be funny if, when the understudy goes on, he would just slightly change it and say, you're the best, Jennifer. And so that became a running gag in the old Adelphi.
You're the best.
You're the
Jennifer?
best, Jennifer.
Ooh.
You're the best, Jennifer. So yes, I would say it many times. It's true. That's so funny.
I hear it in my head all the time.
So funny.
I loved it.
Yeah.
So can we go back? You grew up in New Jersey. You got a BFA in acting from Mason Gross School of Arts.
Correct. Mason Gross. Correct.
Gross.
School of the Arts. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to explain to some of the other guests like how important in London it is to get your 3 years of training. Yeah. Which isn't the same here, is it?
I don't know. I think it is the same.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, again, you know, it seems like most of the people in my show most of them come from a university and a theater experience of a few years of training. In London, everybody seemed to go to these schools, these prep schools, and there would be some funny sort of status about whether or not you went to this school versus that school. Yeah. And you were kind of considered have a little bit more of an attitude depending upon how good your school was in London. It
Yes.
seems like.
Yeah. I would
Arts
agree.
Ed, is that one of the ones? Is
Arts
that it?
Ed. Yeah, that's a big dog.
Yeah.
That's a big
So
dog.
yeah. But as far as it being valuable for people, it was really important that I did it, and
Yeah.
and it and as predicted by most of the teachers there, most of the stuff you learned there was a tool for you to utilize when your instincts weren't answering the questions.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was a so it was kind of like a science to it. Like, well, what do I do? Because I'm a little lost here.
Yeah.
And I found that also what they had predicted was that it may be a few years before you really understand it. You're no longer trying to do what the professors want you to do. You've done it enough times with no one in the matinee audience, and you're just figuring your stuff out. And then suddenly, at 3 or 4 years later, provided you are getting up on stage and doing anything you can, you arrive at a place where you go, oh, now
That makes
now
sense.
I get it. Now I get it on some level.
But we're always evolving.
Or always figuring it out.
Always
To
learning.
me, the thing that is the constant goal is to get out of my own way.
Oh
I
my
always find that
God.
with anything, whether it's swinging a golf club or playing tennis or a great game of ping pong or cooking. Just get out of your way, go with your instincts, and don't steer. Just go with your instincts.
And your instincts are good, Roger.
Well, they're
Bart.
loud.
They're good.
Yeah,
I have made notes about your career.
I'm sorry.
Took a while.
You
I
did?
think it took about an hour.
Yeah. Oh God. Well,
So
I've been
we-
around forever.
You
Sorta.
really have.
Yeah, kind of.
You look so good.
Thank you.
I'm just going to read you some of the things Roger did early on in his career.
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd, The Secret Garden, The Who's Tommy, King David, Young Frankenstein, Hercules, Annie. Now we have two big Annie fans in the room right now,
Yeah.
James and Poppy. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Oh,
shout
cool.
them out. But one of the ones I wanted to talk about was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, as Snoopy.
Yeah.
Something major happened to you in that contract, didn't it?
Yeah. I had my first kidney stone, I think. It was crazy. It was so weird. And also kind of like so hard to explain to the EMS people about why I was wearing a sweater with a large black spot on my back.
So the kidney stone he's referring to is a Tony Award, if
Yeah.
that got lost in transition. How old were you when you played
I
Snoopy?
think 37.
and you'd dedicated a lot of your, well, majority of your life to the industry, whether that's theatre, TV, because you're very much in the same playing field on both
Yeah.
industries. Do you remember the feeling of firstly being nominated? Because you've been nominated twice.
Yeah. I hadn't been at that time. I think that was the
That was your
first
first
time.
one, yeah.
And it was amazing. I just remember flabbergasted, thrilled, grateful, overjoyed, and just with the 3 times that I've been nominated, all of them have been met with that same
Feeling.
handful of emotions of just gratitude and excitement. It's so hard for the universe to make something that you have a great job on Broadway that is so good that you're possibly nominated, and I think that this particular year of being nominated for Doc was so gratifying because it was 23 years after my, was it 23, 25 years, something like that,
Well, after you
my
win.
after Snoopy nomination.
Oh
So there was
my
something about that
gosh.
made me feel a little bit like, my posture isn't quite as good and I can't quite, do the silly dance steps as fast and stuff, but that, I still am able to kind of get out there. It made me feel very grateful.
That's
You know?
amazing.
Yeah.
25 years.
I think so. Yeah, 24, 25.
And your third nom.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
crazy.
cool. Yeah.
I know I'm biased, but what you've done with Doc Brown, we'll come on to Back to the Future.
Yeah.
What you've done with Doc Brown is like way more than winning a Tony,
Oh, thanks.
It's special.
Yeah, it's been a special role.
It has.
Yeah.
And in your life for a very long time.
Yes.
Let's talk about it then.
Sure.
We'll skip the other
Hit
thing.
it. Oh, how dare you, but okay.
We'll come back to
I
it.
was really excited about talking about Secret Garden on the road. I know everybody was chomping at the bit at home. So where did you get that vest, nature boy? When the thing is wicked, it has a life about it. Maybe not a life like you and me. But somewhere there's a secret. Rico, you, hey, how come and let me show ya what I mean. There was a brief Secret Garden anecdote. I went away on vacation. I had a line. It was Yorkshire accent, which I did, of course, horrendously. And I had one line that said, "Mary, come quickly." And I went away. I was in Detroit. I went away on vacation. This lovely actor went on, who I obviously was maybe even more challenged by the Yorkshire accent. But when I came back from my vacation, no one even said hello to me. They just went, "Mara, come quackla." And I was like, what is going on? Why is everybody saying Mara, come quackla? And that was apparently what my understudy said when he went on and said, Mary, come quickly. It just always killed me. And of course, that night, as you know, I am wont to do, went, Mara, come quackla.
I'm obsessed.
I'm obsessed. Good times, man.
So let's go back to Back to the Future. Yeah. That is where Roger and I met. Roger was in his second year in the London production, and of course Ben and I joined.
Yeah.
But you were in the original workshop.
Yes.
Way, way, way back. This was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Of course it was.
2018.
So you were in it right from the get-go. When you got that call to see, hey, do you want to come to London and kind of workshop Back to the Future, what actually went through your mind?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, can't wait.
And you stayed at the Corinthia the whole time?
I did a really long time. That was later. First, I started off at the Radisson Bleu.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the Radisson Bleu. But the Bleu was right around the corner from the Dominion, which is where we did it.
Yes,
which was our first little workshop. But yeah, I had extended my stay at the, what was it called?
You did, the Corinthia.
The Corinthian, which was crazy,
It
right?
was crazy.
It was crazy.
And I love how you said that to me. Like, we know what to talk about, and you knew I'd love that you stayed in the Corinthian
yeah,
for
man.
such a long time.
They forced me out by the end. They were like, I'll never forget our producer, Phoebe, was like, no, we're getting you out of this. I'm sure it was killing them, you know. I think the discounts had run out at that point. They didn't know one of the actors would be staying there for months, you know. It just drove me nuts because the windows didn't open. That's what just drove me crazy, man.
Like cabin fever.
Yeah, totally. Fascinating question, though.
Yeah. You won. You guys won the Best New Musical at the Olivier's.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it was so
You guys
cool.
created that.
Such a funny night.
Yeah. Big night, wasn't it?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It was really funny. I just got totally pissed up in a box with some friends, and we had a private bartender at the, where was it? It was in the Royal Albert Hall. And we had a box with a bartender, and because I did not get nominated, you know, I could just get there and not dress up as nicely and get hammered. So it was a really funny night.
Did you also end up in Freedom with Bob Gale?
No, you know, I never went there. I checked out before the pole dancing in the gay clubs started.
Maybe we could do that together someday.
Sure, I hope so.
Okay, we're going really off track with this.
Maybe when we do Secret Garden on the West End, the revival.
Yes, we should do that together.
Come quackla!
Right. Couple of things.
Yeah.
Ben mentioned to me you did something where you put the lampshade on your head.
Yes. For my audition?
For your tape.
Yeah.
So,
where? Well, so like, you know, you get this call and you're in Los Angeles, and you know you have some of your furniture, and they're like, "Do Doc Brown prepare every scene?" So I had an Atari thing that I used to that was guiding, you know, Einstein in the car.
Yeah.
And then I wore a silly bathrobe to look fairly more insane.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I have the mind reading device. And I had nothing, you know, to use, so I put a lampshade on my head and some headphones. And our producer, Colin Ingram, always threatens to drag that little video out. And, you know, it wasn't too bad.
Was it not?
You know, I tell you, it just goes to show, you know, sometimes your first instincts are often the sort of the greatest. And there were things in there that were great, and then there were things, of course, that were pretty horrendous and needed work. But it was super fun to do. And I had a great time, and my girlfriend at that time, her favorite movie in the world was Back to the Future, so she did not let me get away with anything.
No.
You know, she really was a stickler about getting it right. So it just ended up being great.
I just feel like no one I know or can think off the top of my head could have done Doc Brown as well as you.
Well, that's very kind.
Because Doc is such a specific character. He was just so, particular, but you like really made it your own.
Yeah, I kind of get him in ways, you know?
Yeah.
There's something about many of his foibles, the sort of fear of failure and having fun with everything and thinking big. It was really kind of fun about doing the part, particularly with Ben and Will and with Casey, is that this friendship sort of transcends age, and there are times when Marty often there's a few moments where Marty becomes sort of the stronger and wiser of the two.
Yeah.
And I find that to be very much the case with my daughters. I often, thought I was the smarter one, and then suddenly the tables started to shift often, and when they did, our relationship just continued to deepen,
Wow.
So it was beautiful. But, you also provided for me one of my absolute favorite readings of all time, which was this one. I'll try to demonstrate it. Take a sip of some vodka or hit off the bottle and you go, I stole it from the old lady's liquor cabinet.
So that when
that
we worked together,
tickled me. I was like, please put it in the first scene. Remember, I was dying for you to please to go, you remember, George?
There is a moment where Lorraine and Marty are sitting in the car, and we're kind of like on this date, weirdly, as I'm his mum. Right. And I take a sip of vodka, and I kind of just slipped into this pattern of like pretending like it was really burning my neck.
Here it is. And it literally would tickle me just like that every single night. I would hear it in my dressing room. It was the best thing ever.
And I remember
I stole it from the old lady's liquor cabinet.
I stole it. And Roger came up to me and he said, can I just say I love the way you deliver that line? And I just remember thinking, I've won.
Which, by the way, you have to be really hesitant to do that, because it's like if you go up to somebody has come up to me sometimes and said, the way you do that, and then forever I can never do it again. Yeah, I can never do it as good as that moment that they told me they loved it.
Oh, we haven't talked about the producers.
Oh yeah,
we have to talk about the producers.
Yeah, producers, pretty fun.
So you did the movie and you did Broadway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both as Carmen and Leo. Correct.
Did the Broadway? I did Carmen and Leo, and then did Carmen in the movie.
Carmen in the movie, yes. Were you in the original producers?
Yes.
Original cast of producers.
Yeah.
On Broadway.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I thought you meant the original film, and I thought, ooh, not that old.
And then, did you go from there to the film, or vice versa?
From there to the film. So there was, they really wanted to do to use as much of the Broadway cast as they could.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It was a pretty big deal in its time. That show was really very popular, and it was great to do the movie of it. It was really fun. I mean, it's not like the Broadway. It's not like doing it on stage, but it's just so great that we have it. It's done.
I know.
And my hair was really silly in the movie. It makes me laugh. Bangs are really funny.
It's the way that, I think I really remember you in your Carmen days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so clear in my mind. Like, you did such an amazing thing with that character.
It was really fun. Oh man, it was like, there's so many goofy things about it. Like, I knew I was going to probably have to wear a cat suit, which was terrifying, So he made it into kind of like this, instead of a onesie, into these two pieces, right? So I had these really, really, really snug pants. So snug, in fact, that he actually, this is William Ivy Long, put in the dressing room my very first experience with a dance belt, which lasted really like under 3 seconds. Like, it was no one was invited in. It was a personal, quick decision of I think that will never happen. I think it might be worse than a jock. I don't know. It's a really wild experience.
Is it?
Yeah. So, wasn't too keen on it. So
No.
so I slipped into a very snug pair of bicycle pants underneath
Cute.
it. But one of the things that I did in the character, if you may or may not recall, was
Yep.
I kind of was always sort of wrapped around myself, and the reason was I was embarrassed about my stomach. It was just I had this little ridiculous pot belly. It just seems to where whatever cheeseburger I eat, it just manifests there, along with my anxiety. And so you see the way I stand in the movie is all. It's not a character choice. It's literally me going, I
feel
cannot
uncomfortable.
believe I'm wearing this next to these people who are in the ensemble who actually have good bodies. So that's
cannot
why I covered myself.
believe that.
Yeah. And it was one rehearsal where it was really tense in the room. Only one. We really had never had any tension. And on that day, I thought it would be a great time to introduce like that, which was an old Fritz Feld, which is a funny actor in the 50s and
Yeah.
60s. And I stole that shtick from him in that rehearsal, and it kind of de-iced the room. And it was such
And
a funny
it's
day.
never left.
Never left, no.
Do you think you can try and fit that into like every other role that you do?
Mira, come quack, quack la. Didn't make it there, but everywhere else, yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
And then, can I just say, guys, this is going to touch so many people because I don't think many people realize that it's literally Roger Bart that sings Go the Distance from Hercules. You were young Hercules. That is crazy. Do you know what memory rings so deep in my mind? And it was your last show in London before you were coming to Broadway.
Yeah.
And when you came into warm-up, we were all kind of just singing Go the Distance.
Yeah.
And then everyone went quiet and you just sang a couple of lines by yourself. And I just remember sobbing.
You guys, our company, and you, Ben, and everybody else, it gave me the single greatest day and evening of my professional career, without question for me.
Aww.
And there you go. But yeah, it was the most gratifying, and I loved being there, and I'll never forget that moment. It was so deeply moving to me.
It was.
It was so beautiful. So I'm very grateful to you, and everybody was there that day.
We were so lucky to work with you, so many people. So who approached you? How did you get to sing Go the Distance?
Well, I was in Los Angeles, and I was seeing no action. I wasn't really well represented, and I just said, if you can do one thing for me while I'm here, this is 1995, please just get me in front of Alan Menken or their casting, because I just felt like my voice, singing voice, was right for juvenile heroes, and Aladdin I had gotten pretty close to, and it just was a style of singing that is kind of just basically Alan Menken, the way he sings. He sings similarly to me. And so I had that opportunity. I sang Proud of Your Boy from Aladdin, which I had learned for Aladdin. So I kind of had it in my body. And then went to sing another song, which was before Go the Distance, was a song called Shooting Star. And then I think first I sang Proud of Your Boy, and then I got called back, and then Alan was there, and then I got to see him, and then that was the beginning of a really lovely relationship. So it was great.
And so you did have a lovely working relationship, friendship.
Yeah, I mean, I adore him. I wish we'd spent more time together hanging out, but we've had some good times. I did a workshop a couple of times of a show called Little Pinks, which I think was interesting, and an Howard Ashman idea. Oh wow! Based on an old movie with Lucille Ball in the lead. Which was a dark little Damon Runyon musical. And but it didn't go anywhere. But during that time, it was really fun to collaborate with him. And then, of course, we did the other thing in the park. And it was great. And then the first time I got to sing, and the only time ever at Carnegie Hall, and probably will be the only time, was singing with an orchestra, Go the Distance, for Alan and everyone else in tuxedos. It was terrifying.
I just do think, like, Go the Distance... Or songs in that category and caliber will always live on. Yeah,
I hope so. I mean, I think that Disney, Disney,
it has that power, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, well, Disney knows that positivity and optimism in our heroes that you meet are really important. And I think that the songs do have a lot of staying power because they become kind of repurposed in people's lives, And I've heard many different people who have been inspired by hearing that song for a variety of reasons. And it's just so amazing to have been the voice behind it. And I remember that process was something that to quickly go back to what I was speaking about before with learning that music is just get out of your way.
Yeah.
And I made sure that don't sing, just speak, just communicate. Don't sing. As soon as you start sort of adding stuff that you think makes it sound pretty, stop it.
Yeah.
Just sing. Just
Connect.
Speak about what you're speaking about.
Yeah. And then let's go on to, I only discovered this yesterday and then I text you straight away.
Yeah.
American Gangster.
Yeah. Did you see the scene?
No.
Oh, it was pretty intense. This is the second movie I did with Russell Crowe.
So you've worked with Russell Crowe twice?
Yeah. First was a movie called The Insider, which is great.
Yes, I've got
great
this
movie.
Got that
And this one was this one I sort of got to bitch him out a little bit, so it was fun. I was sort of a hard ass in this one.
What was the audition process for that like?
It was pretty wild, It was a very long speech, and the speech was in the context of a kind of an office chewing out.
Okay.
Right? So it was after the fact, correct?
Yes.
So though it was great to do in as few breaths as possible, kind of stream of consciousness, but it was a little bit less filled with the immediate rage about the situation. And it was an interesting lesson in really, really memorizing your text sometimes, because if you do get to do a speech, if you can, again, get out of your own way and fire a speech and let your emotions come through of what's really in your intent come through really clearly, it somehow must have separated me from others auditioning for it because I was so on the material.
Okay.
And thank goodness that I learned it like that, because when I showed up on set, Ridley Scott, in most likely an effort to probably get something done quickly, and not change physical the place where we were.
Yeah.
We went from an airport hangar into kind of a little office off of it. And in doing so, I had 4 cameras on me, and he just said, come in a little bit this time and kind of bitch them out. And so it was very different because I had sort of worked it out where it was a little bit more calmer and reserved, and it turned out to be a little bit more of a tirade, which was wild. And it's Ridley Scott. I mean, it's not a relaxing day. It's intense.
No,
I'd never
I know.
even, I met him and that was it. Boom.
If you could describe filming in one word compared to theatre, what would it be?
Incremental. It's like acting by the inch.
Yes.
Yeah. The challenges are being present over a period of 12 hours that day. And so you're going away and you have sort of bad food and you go in your room and then you're in your costume and you have a bib and you're fully made up and your hair is weird and you smell weird because you have weird, and then you get called to set and then you're kind of asked to go in a place that's 6 seconds later from where you shot 7 hours ago.
Yeah.
And then you put that inch of material in. And so it's about a long thought. It's about knowing how you imagine a scene and then implementing it. And then getting out of your, getting out of your way.
That is your saying.
I think it's really, it's really key. And so it's very different. It's also an editor's medium and a writer's medium a little bit more than the actor's medium, which is the stage. And you have to, you just have to think and feel a little bit more
but give a little less.
A lot less, But so a little bit, everything is just as big like here inside your heart and your head. But it's not about having to, the proscenium is something in a big film, obviously. Yeah. What would be a huge take on stage is a glance, or a raising of an eyebrow.
Exactly.
It's kind of amazing. So it's a very different proscenium on which to deal.
And then let's move on to television. Do a lot of people recognize you from Desperate Housewives?
I think more than anything else worldwide.
Really?
Yeah. It's big in either Egypt, Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
South America, most of Europe is just huge.
You've done quite a few episodes on different TV shows. So you Desperate Housewives, How I Met Your Mother, Good Trouble, No Tomorrow, Graves. Like, how is it to go in and out of television shows?
It's fun, I kind of for people who don't really sort of don't really kind of understand how goofy it can be. It's kind of fun to be around for a while, so you get to know the crew.
Yes.
Right? Because your crew is your new audience, And it starts to feel like a great safe place. Like during Desperate Housewives, they were always tickled and they would let the camera run because they knew that I would do something, stupid at the end of takes. And they got conditioned to do that. So we just laughed, a lot of times in that show. But I kind of feel like what happens particularly with some of those shows you mentioned, particularly like Revenge, you didn't mention, but Desperate Housewives is they're evening soaps with a little sort of mystery, right? With a little suspense, and they're comedic, but vaguely comedic. And when they add me, often it's because it's like if you were making chili, or cooking something, it would be adding a spice, and that spice is really fun for about 8 episodes, and then everyone goes, I don't really want that spice anymore. I think I want to try something else. And then they murder you.
No. Have you actually been killed off?
Oh, yeah.
You've been killed off.
Oh, my God. There was a while there I was like, I blew up. There was one sequence where I'd been blown up several times.
Have you?
Just get rid of him.
Get rid of that spice.
Get rid of that guy, that spice. I can't anymore.
I can't believe you've been killed off.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Would you say that?
I had to go on television in America on a show called The View, which was also ABC, after I was killed on Desperate Housewives. And I was told right before going on air with those ladies, make sure you mention that you're dead and not coming back. And I'll never forget it. It was like I was so horrified.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I know. It was like it wasn't just enough that I was like, the character's dead, thanks for the thrill ride. It was more like, no, please tell them you're not returning.
Reiterate to the audience.
Right, as if
let them know, plain and simple.
They did. I'm not kidding. It was really offensive and really funny.
I like the fact that you just like, it was funny.
It was funny, yeah. It's just funny.
You don't take yourself too seriously.
No. I was glad. It was the only thing that was hard it was a bit difficult to dig myself out of the America's sort of most loathed villain for a little bit there, because back then, Desperate Housewives in its day was like a water cooler show. It was like Love Island is now.
Right.
Yeah,
I feel
everyone
that.
talks about it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I know what you mean with that.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I remember telling my daughter that you were in Back to the Future. I said, I don't know, she wasn't on, I think it was called Love Island. She goes, Dad, wait. Love Island, what season? I said, I don't know. Maybe 3. I don't really know. Oh my God, I think I know who it is. She was blown away.
She?
Oh yeah, she was so psyched.
I love that.
It was really cool.
I have the effect that you have the effect
That's
of.
right, except you were not a spice we wanted to get rid of, though.
Trust me, I was a spice they wanted to get rid of. Only if it's okay with you, I want to talk about your friendship with Jonathan Larson.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Because I know that you spoke in depth with Ben,
Yeah.
in your dressing room.
Yeah.
And I think what people may not put together is that Roger in Rent is named after you.
Unfortunately, I never. I mean, he was Rudolfo, was the name of the character, so he made it Rudy, and then he changed it to Roger.
Yeah, well,
that I happen to be named Roger, and I was a good friend. And his characters, these were bohemian characters that were all kind of duking it out in their city, and so he based these characters a little bit on the people in his lives.
In his life.
Right. And so one was me, and another guy named Jonathan Burkhart was Mark. He was a cameraman and now actually runs the Nantucket Film Festival.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
And you were highly involved in the early stages of Rent and Tick, Tick, Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere that you and Jonathan were waiters together in between theatre jobs.
Close.
Close.
I was
okay.
bartending. He worked at a diner.
Okay.
Not so far away from each other. I was in the West Village. He was sort of over in Soho. it was not in between. I mean, it was kind of in between, but really it was like our jobs were in between our jobs in restaurants.
Okay.
So it was actually
The other way around.
kind of, yeah. We were a bit, like one of that wonderful song John writes in Tick Tick Boom, like it's this Sunday in the blue silver chromium diner. That was very much like, it really made us both laugh because we both were working Sunday brunches. That's what we did. But it was hard, and he would come visit me, and I would feed him a free plate of penne pasta. Penne pasta was like, it cost probably like 20 cents to make, and I'd give him a glass of red wine, and we would listen to songs either that he was in the process of writing. Back then it was with Walkmen.
Oh,
and,
wow.
yeah, because it was 1989, 88, and we would do recordings, and then we would listen to those, and it was there in the context of my restaurant that I was working at, the Paris Commune. He came and goes, so I think I got a name for this show. I'm thinking about calling it Rent. And I'm like, oh, okay, man. I said, why? He goes, because that's all we do. It's all we do. It's always about making rent. It's all we do.
Wow.
And I was like, you're right. Because really at that time, we had to work about 2.5 weeks to make rent.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Which really wasn't even much, by the way. The rent wasn't even much. But it was just, we just had no money. And we were always focused, of course, on the prize.
Yeah.
Just getting out of the restaurants.
You've seen the film Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Was
moving.
Yes.
Very weird.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it so weird for you
Very
to watch?
weird.
Was it accurate?
In regards to sort of keeping focused on Jonathan's where he was at, yes. Was it accurate in terms of there was dramatic license given to the situations that the songs were a little bit about?
Okay.
That were personal and difficult, and I think that Lynn made appropriate adjustments and honored the things that were right about and telling the right story about Jonathan, and about somebody who recognizes that his own sort of his ability and his desire to do what he was meant to do, and then find out that the person next to him that he had sort of cynically kind of looked at as sort of like having the life, turns out his life is going to likely be abbreviated and kind of collapsing in his own self-absorption and hitting himself going, what have I done? What have I been thinking? This is not what's important. But it was beautiful when he wrote, when I was 9, Michael and I. That song was an answer to Ira Weitzman, who was working now developing musicals at Lincoln Center, who said to Jonathan, this show is kind of like a rant right now about your frustration, but we're losing what it is that you love. What is it that you love about being this kind of artist? What is it that hooked you? Why are you suffering through this? Yeah. And he wrote that in an evening.
Did it?
Which is often, I think, what happens, when you suddenly go, oh, got it.
Yeah.
And then he wrote that beautiful, beautiful song about this friendship and about how they got the bug together, the theater bug. Beautiful.
I feel like when I watched it, because I know that you've spoken to Ben for hours and hours about your friendship, it was like we had a little inkling into your past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably some of the people that watch this and listen to this, if you're in your early 20s, I kind of always felt like when I look back at everything, I think that your body and your brain are wired for the resiliency and ready to take the hits of what it is to be a young artist starting out. And when I look back on those days, I found them to be remarkably creative.
Yes.
We were kind of going after everything we could do to try to figure out what's the best way we could do this. So it was a beautiful time, even though it was, we were impoverished. And we were on our own, and we hated asking our parents for stuff. But we were also sometimes living with 3 or 4 friends. Never laughed harder in my life. Never worked harder on auditions. No. I mean, we examined every nook and cranny. And those days with Jonathan were beautiful as part of that, as they were with other friends of mine. And they make you who you are ultimately later. And I cherish them. As I say, it was a little rough sometimes, financially, but but it was beautiful.
And it made you who you are.
Yeah, for better, for worse, yeah.
Well, I am being stared at to say you've run way over, but I honestly couldn't have shortened that. I needed you guys
Mara.
to hear, just how wonderful Roger is, and just have a snippet of like what Ben and I experienced in the year that we worked together. So thank you so much.
I'm not kidding. I cherish that time with all my heart.
Me
Both
too.
of you guys.
Thank you so much for listening. Love you, Raj.
Love you.
Bye.